gbogbo wa nílé lóko lẹ́yìn òdì mú kí wá pé akóbójú ọjọ́ ṣeré mú kẹ́yìn ìyá mú kẹ́yìn bàbá mú kí ẹ̀gbọ́n mú kí àbúrò èmi ọmọ yín olólùfẹ́ yín ààyè ọpẹ́ yọ ṣé yọ lọ́dọ̀ títí náà ní agbára lọ́wọ́ àṣẹdá ààyè ọpẹ́ àmọyọ fún wa lórí ọmọ lórí ìdáwọ́lé wa òun láàyè ọpẹ́ ló máa fi máa yọ fún èmi àti èwo ni mo ní kí a jọ ṣe àgbéyẹ̀wò ẹ̀ lọ́jọ́ títí òní gẹ́gẹ́ bí a ṣe máa ń ṣe Yorùbá ni mí ọmọ Odùduwà ni mí ọmọ kóòtù òjìrè ni mí gbogbo ẹ̀ náà ó wọnú ara ni èyí tá a fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ lé lórí lọ́jọ́ títí òní báwo ló ṣe rí báyìí ibo la bára wa yìí níbo la bára wa orúkọ wo la lè pe eléyìí ìyá mi bàbá mi ẹ̀gbọ́n mi àtàbúrò mi orúkọ wo la máa pe eléyìí ó gba omijé bọ́ ó ti pẹ́ tó ti ń gba omijé lójú àwa kan gẹ́gẹ́ bí àwọn kan ti ṣe ń sọ wípé ó ti ń wọlẹ̀ lọ ó ti ń wọlẹ̀ lọ ó ti ń wọlẹ̀ lọ ní ìgbà tí irú nǹkan báyìí tó bá ṣẹlẹ̀ sírú àwọn first class bàbá wa yìí first class ọmọ ilẹ̀ kóòtù òjìrè nínú àwọn first class ọmọ Nàìjíríà ní ìgbà tí irú eléyìí tó bá happen sí wọn nígbà tí irú eléyìí tó ṣẹlẹ̀ fún wọn tó ń ṣe kinní yẹn tó ń ṣe fún wọn wọ́n ti ń ṣe fún wọn láti abẹ́ àwọn tó jẹ́ wípé kékeré inú wọn la máa pè gẹ́gẹ́ bí orúkọ brọ́dà mi kan kékeré inú ilé la máa ń pè wọ́n ìgbà tó ń ṣe fún àwọn kékeré inú ilé wọ́n wá ṣe fún àwọn àgbàlagbà inú ilé ìsìn kò lè dùn lẹ́nu mi púpọ̀ kò lè dùn lẹ́nu mi bí òun ṣe wípé ká gbé fídíò náà wá kẹ́ gbọ́ níbi tí bàbá wa yìí tó ti ń sọ̀rọ̀ nígbà tí wọ́n bá ṣe irú nǹkan báyìí fún bàbá wa yìí sẹ́ grandpa wa yìí first class ọmọ kóòtù òjìrè yìí tí wọ́n bá ṣe irú nǹkan báyìí fún wọn ta là wá tí àwọn náà dẹ̀ tó ń fẹnu ara wọn sọ wípé àwọn mọ̀ àwọn èèyàn tí irú nǹkan báyìí náà tó ti ṣẹlẹ̀ sí rí pé kò níhùn táwa náà dẹ̀ mọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ táwa náà ń sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ẹ jẹ́ ká sáré lọ gbọ́ nǹkan tí bàbá wa sọ kó tó di wípé mo máa wá gbé fídíò míì náà wá.
Basically, I think what I should do is just read you the first line of a rather curious love letter I received from an embassy, and then we'll take it and elaborate from there. Yeah? Oh, all right. Consulate General of, you see what I talk about? What you freeze? I'll talk about this technology. All right. Let's read it from here. So it's from the Consulate General of the United States of America in Lagos. Dear Mr. Soyinka, this letter serves as official notification by the United States Consulate General in Lagos that the nominated visa listed below has been revoked pursuant to the authority contained in the U.S. Department of State Regulation, blah, 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 and it's no longer valid for application for entry into the United States, etc. Additional information became available. I repeat that, additional information became available after the below visa was issued. The revocation refers only to visa listed below. Name of visa holder, Wole Soyinka. Date and place of birth, 13 July 34, Nigeria. Visa classification, symbol B1/B2. I'm giving these details because I'll be referring to that visa shortly. Date and place of visa issuance, 2nd April 2024, Lagos. I will read the latter part later on for dramatic reasons. I don't want to read it now. I want to read it towards the very end. Now, I think it's important for me to begin by reminding us about the history of this visa, which was issued when an accident happened to my green card, which some of you might remember. And so it became no longer valid. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, not long after that, maybe by accident, or maybe it's related or not, I got a letter from the Internal Revenue Service of the United States of America saying that an audit of my tax returns was about to take place, going back about 5 years. We're talking about tax returns, 25 to 6, 1 year after the other. And now, there are some periodic moments when they do an audit just to make sure you're not cheating them. That's okay. But there's an interesting coincidence about this, that I got that notice of a coming audit just after an accident happened to my green card, which you all know about. So I went to the embassy and said, listen, this is a letter I've just received from the Internal Revenue Service. My green card is no longer usable. I don't want to be advertised as a tax dodger owing the United States money and being chased all over the world with letters and police. I said, I need to go in and answer the audit. And that's exactly what happened. I wish to emphasize that the United States consulate staff was very, very gentle, very courteous. I was treated, like a human being. Let's just put it that way, which is the way I believe all applicants for visas should be treated. And I left there without any problem. That was when I was issued this B1, B2 visa. I stress that over and over again because of some idiot in this country who still insists that I never got rid of that green card after Donald Trump was first elected to office. Now, why did an accident happen to my green card? I merely said it would happen, and it would happen, and it did happen. It's because I realized that many people were still skeptical about the new incumbent at that time of the presidency of the United States. And I said, you don't understand this man. You see, he's a philosopher. He's a philosopher of the school of the much abused ancient philosopher Heraclitus. And not to mystify that much misunderstood, misquoted philosopher, you can understand him by simply looking at Nigerian philosophy, most prominent and instructive of which was no condition is permanent. So you don't have to even go into the into Greek scholarship and statehood. Just look at it, no condition is permanent. And so I said, this person coming in is just promoting that philosophy, which goes all the way back to the ancient Greeks, and of course, to the ancient sages of all societies. No condition is permanent. And I said, he would, however, I predict that his first mission in office will be to prove it by withdrawing all permanent documents, all so-called permanent documents, especially the permanent.
Kindly subscribe to YouTube channel and follow on Facebook page at Dr. Zabby's Talk Show.
Residence card. So I said I'll save him time by having an accident happen to my green card, which took the form of my we humanists, we're always looking at gadgets. And unfortunately, when I was looking at my green card, it fell between the fingers of a pair of scissors, and it got cut into a couple of pieces. That's what happened to my green card. People say I destroyed it. No, I didn't destroy it. It just had an accident, that's all. But since then, I've been living, Let me make sure. Because very curious things happen to things which I say. That was a joke. I don't want to read in the papers, Wole Soyinka started lying, saying that an accident happened to his green card. Oh, please, I have to be very careful. All right. So anyway, I no longer had a green card. That's what matters. That's how I came. I demoted myself by circumstances from permanent residence to just another tourist business entry and depart. By coincidence, when I read that letter of revocation, they are reconsidering, or they've invited me to bring in my visa for reconsideration. I don't know how many of you read or saw the press statement which I made at the time when I received a letter. That is, we're going back now, 2 weeks before this letter, when I received a letter asking me to bring back my passport because certain facts may have come up since the visa was issued. And I was given a date to report at the consulate with my passport. I declined the invitation. First of all, I didn't like the date. Everybody knows what happened on that date, November 11, many years ago. So it was rather unfortunate that they picked that date. And I said, sorry, I'm superstitious. I'm not coming on that date. And then ultimately, I made it clear I was also not going to apply for another date to bring in my passport. So I left. I traveled out. When I came back, or even before I came back, I got a letter from the ambassador. What is that? What is our problem there? Is the house falling down or something? Just give me notice so I know which direction to run. So I got a letter from the ambassador. Very nice letter, very courteous. I wish always to stress this, that I have absolutely nothing against individual citizens as citizens of any nation. This is an issue which concerns the government. I have continuing good relationship with members of the consulate, the embassy. I received nothing but courteous treatment from them. I want to stress that. And so I received this letter in which he informed me that he was away when that letter was sent and that if I would please give him a call, he would try and explain the circumstances and so on and so forth. When I came back again, I got a letter, a reminder that I should call him. So I called. We arranged a call meeting. I think it was 4 o'clock about a week ago. And he explained, and again he offered a special visit by me. I'd be received by the consul, and then they would ask a few questions about the possible facts which existed that they didn't know about when this visa was issued. He spoke, and he spoke frankly, and I said, shall I be equally frank with you? I'm not interested. It has nothing to do with me personally. It has to do with the treatment which I know, the brutal, cruel, and often unbelievable treatment being meted out to strangers, immigrants, even in some cases, permanent residents, which of course include quite a number of Nigerians. I know of a number of Nigerians who were turned back, who live in the United States, who've lived there all their lives. Some of them have businesses, they have grown-up children, families who are even citizens of our country, but we just left in the normal way to visit home, and then found at the airport they weren't allowed to get on that plane. Because in the meantime, either their visas were under examination or had in fact been revoked, but they were not allowed to go back there, etc., etc. I don't want to run into the... You all know what's been going on. It's all over the media. You have friends, you have families there. So I said, it's not about me. I'm not really interested in going back to the United States. I said, but a principle is involved. Human beings deserve to be treated decently wherever they are, wherever they drop their buckets, even places where they're just visiting briefly. I said, I'm sorry, I will not apply for a new date. So he sighed and said he was very sorry, but that meant that my visa would be revoked. I said, by all means, I'd be willing to receive the letter of revocation. And I assured him that both he and his staff are given permanent visa waiver anytime they want to visit the Autonomous Republic of Ijegba, situated in Abeokuta. There will be no reciprocal conduct from my principality. So he laughed, and eventually, of course, the formal letter arrived and I received it. So it's necessary for me to give this press conference so that people in the States who are expecting me for this event or that event or were thinking of it, not to waste their time. I have no visa. I am banned, obviously, from the United States. And if you want to see me, you know where to find me. That's elementary as that. There's a comment which is necessary. So I asked myself, however, the visa doling department is now looking into past history, because this is a statement that certain facts have come up. I mean, we're talking about thousands of people, by the way. I want us always to bear that in mind. So they've dug backwards, and if you remember, there were statements to the effect that anybody with any past criminal act, even felony, just misdemeanor, was qualified for revocation of visa. So I had to start looking back. Have I ever misbehaved in the United States? Do I have a history? Have I been convicted? Have I gone against the law anywhere? And I remembered finally 2 instances, which I want to make public now, in case it is brought up later on. So they will say, you hid that one. I remember pleading guilty at the airport one day. I was landing in Chicago. That's my first major production in the United States. We were in rehearsals at the time, Death and the King's Horseman. And the night before I left, I had to dash to London and then return for rehearsals. The night before, I'd gone to an Indian restaurant in London. And as usual, when I go to, when I am in those cold, wintry countries, I always carry peppers with me. At that restaurant, which is Indian, when I was leaving, I put a few green chilies in my pocket just to keep me going when I got back to Chicago. I forgot to declare those chilies. So I'm warning you now that you may learn that I was convicted for carrying some small chilies, because at the airport they wanted to charge me to court. And they said, but I could plead guilty and pay a fine. I think I remembered paying about $25 or so, for a few chilies. So that's one. That was one possible crime that could have been dug up, and I'd forgotten all about it, quite frankly. That's my fault. So that's one. 2, AMSAC. AMSAC is acronym for American Society for African Culture. AMSAC had a huge international conference, I think some years also just before that, early 70s. I'm not good at dates. Anyway, and it took place in Atlanta Americana, a motel in Atlanta at the time. And I fought at home in physically. I had, shall we say, a confrontation with the police, some racist conduct by the receptionist led to the police being called. And this police came and was trying to throw his weight around and so on. So I can be convicted, if you like, for, shall we say, for disobeying orders from law officers of the United States. This was at least 30 years ago. And eventually, I ended up, as a matter of fact, what is the expression again? Integrating the swimming pool of that Atlanta. I tell you who was there at the time, at the incident. Emeka Anyaoku, the former Secretary General of the Commonwealth. In fact, it was he and the late Kola Day who stepped in and sort of diffused the situation. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the only two crimes I can consider myself guilty of in all the years, decades I've been going to the United States. So obviously, it could not have been. I don't believe that they would have dug so far back into my murky past to unearth these two great crimes and then revoke my visa. So the reason had to be somewhere else. So I began to cast what have I done in recent times? Then my mind went to Oscar Arias, the former president of Costa Rica, I think Costa Rica, Arias, the Peace Nobel laureate, whose visa also was revoked. And why was his visa revoked? Because he said that Donald Trump was ruling like an emperor. It served him right. I mean, how be calling the whole president of the United States an emperor? That was not very nice. So I looked to see whether I had committed any similar crime. And I remembered that I referred to him as the white version of Idi Amin. Now, you know, dictators are very difficult to please. I would have thought that he was pleased. I mean, Idi Amin was a man of international stature, a statesman, a first-class Democrat, you know. He was also, he called himself the King of Scotland. He called himself a liberator. He said, in fact, he was going to liberate Scotland from the grip of the British. In other words, we should look at Idi Amin as along the line of historic liberators. He was liberating everybody everywhere. Some of them, he even liberated their lives from them, you know, and sent them to places of no return. So when I called Donald Trump Idi Amin, I thought I was paying him a compliment. So why now, if they had contacted me, I would have said, look, I'll look for a new title for you. Maybe give you a more contemporary emperor, like Emperor Bokassa. But I thought that Idi Amin was sufficiently universal. And the man had said, Donald Trump, he was going to rule like a dictator. He's been behaving like a dictator. He should be proud to be acknowledged, a dictator, first class. Somebody whom, as I said, even launched the era of Heraclitus in the United States by making permanent resident cards non-permanent, showing that no condition is permanent. So I thought I would let all of you know the possible catalog of my crimes. Only one conviction, which I signed guilty at the airport for carrying a few papers. Otherwise, I don't know what else I could have done. But maybe I've also written plays about Idi Amin. Maybe it's about time I also write a play about Donald Trump. When he hears that I'm paying him the same literary compliment as I paid Idi Amin, maybe we'll reconsider and return my visa. Otherwise, I want to assure the consulate and the Americans here that I am very content with the revocation of my visa. And that, as I said, they are always welcome as individuals, as citizens, to interact on any number of levels that they wish, short, of course, of my going over there to the United States. I think that's all I want to say really about this whole issue. I said I would reserve a section of the letter to the last, rather than read it continuously. And you will understand why when I read it. That's the other thing I like about what's happened here. Aha. After that section which I read, it goes on to say, we request you bring your visa to the U.S. Consulate General, Lagos, for physical cancellation. To schedule an appointment, please email, etc., advance of the appointment. I like people who have a sense of humor. And this is one of the most humorous sentences or requests I've had in all my life, that I should bring my passport to the consulate to have it stamped on a page, cancelled. Will any of you like to volunteer in my place and take the passport from me? Because I'm a little bit busy and rushed. So anybody who wants to undertake this for me, you're welcome to do so. But as I said, one must develop a sense of humor, and I like them for that. Whoever devised this is after my own heart, that sentence, that request. Bring your visa to us so we can stamp it. As I said, they are welcome at the Autonomous Republic of Ijegba.
Jẹ́ ká máa fi kọ́mẹ̀ntì wa sílẹ̀ ńbẹ̀ bó bá ṣe rí lọ́dọ̀ títí yín kó tó di pé màá lọ gbá àwọn fídíò tó kù wá. Let's go there. Mo rò pé gbogbo ara ti gbọ́ nǹkan tí bàbá wa nǹkan tí wọ́n sọ ẹ ti gbọ́ láti ẹnu ọlọ́rọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ara òrókun ara ọ̀rá adìẹ gẹ́gẹ́ bí mo ṣe máa ń sọ ẹ̀yin tẹ́tí máa ń bá mi bọ̀ tipẹ́tipẹ́ wípé ilé ayé ò ṣe gbé ọ̀run ò ṣe bínú lọ bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni ìlú òyìnbó ò ṣe dúró sí Nàìjíríà ò ṣe bínú lọ kí ni ká wá ṣe ju gbogbo ẹ lọ ẹ tún wá rí wípé àwọn kan tún wá ń fi ara ni wá again wọ́n tún fi ara ni wá adẹ̀ní tílé ò bá tún wá ṣe é lọ tíwájú ò bá ṣe lọ ẹ̀yìn àtúnṣe wá padà sí ó ṣe wá le tó yìí tí àbá tún wá lè jọ dúró lójú kan náà ẹ jẹ́ kó ní kálukú tún máa lọ wọ́n tún ní bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́ gẹ́gẹ́ bí àwọn kan ṣe sọ wípé Yorùbá ló kàn ẹ jẹ́ kán ṣe ẹ jẹ́ kó débẹ̀ kò ṣe kò Yorùbá ò dé rí tá a dẹ̀ ń sọ wípé wọ́n fi kinní yìí lọ ń gbowó nínú báǹkì wọ́n fi ń gbowó ní báǹkì ó ti wá délẹ̀ báyìí ń sè bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ẹ ṣì ń retí another 4 years again ẹ jẹ́ ká sáré lọ gbọ́ láti ẹnu àwọn ẹlòmíì nǹkan tí bàbá wa tó tún láwọn fẹ́ fojú ọmọ gbogbo Nàìjíríà nǹkan tó fẹ́ fojú wọn wọ́n fẹ́ fi wọn mà bo tá a dẹ̀ mọ̀ wípé àwọn nìkan kọ́ bọ̀ àwọn náà ní bírò àti pépà ẹ jẹ́ ká sáré lọ gbọ́ láti ẹnu bàbá wa.
Say, may president forget about PIT. This young man, you fit don see him face. He don expose one big corruption wey dey football for Nigeria. Money wey FIFA give Nigeria make they take develop our sport. You know now, me, I want to address Mr. President say, abeg, before you even think of implementing this, abeg, fight corruption aggressively. You get the point now? Fight corruption aggressively. Now we dey for here so. Before we start, we will first listen to Speedality.
I was going to manage Tinubu. Ndị Igbo used to say Buhari is the worst president. But I say Tinubu is the worst president of Nigeria. Tinubu wants to implement income tax in Nigeria starting January. Nigeria now you won't collect money from. What happened to oil money? What did you accomplish with oil money? First you came in, you removed subsidy from petroleum. Life was hard like unimaginable. Now you want to tax Nigeria. Baba, you won't make it better for you, but you don't want to make it better for you. Which money then Nigeria where you won't collect? Income tax up to 25%. And they ask, you won't make it better for you, but you don't want to make it better for you. Which one? When I see why some people they shout to Biafra, divide. Which one be income tax? Are we white people? Now white people they do tax. Why would you do such thing in Nigeria? You are absolutely the worst. I disagree so much. I made a video the other day telling you to do something about police brutality. There's other ways to be a leader. Even if you don't know how to do economic development, reform police. Instead of you to reform police, this is your economic development. I told you to make this place feel like over there that you guys like to go buy house. And the implementing income tax is your way of making here feel like over there. Papa, you are income tax in Nigeria? Are you kidding me? What did you the govern? Nigeria way hard like heaven and earth. Everything costs so much money. And you want to collect from the one way person manage you gather. You won't collect. You say they do income tax. And you guys don't know why people they shout to Biafra. It don't make sense. This is one of the reasons why. Income tax for Nigeria. You don't go better for the person who give you this idea. You don't go better for the person who give you this idea. I don't like this idea. Income tax for Nigeria. Are we white people?
You don't hear us. The truth we must face. Nigeria's problem, I have been saying this, if you have been following me, is not money generation. We no get problem of generating money since. Like Niger Republic, when we say they no get natural resources. We no get problem like many other countries when it comes to generating money. We sabi generate money. We get oil for this country. We have been generating money for decades. Oil money, tax money, borrowed money, customs money, and so on and so forth. Different levies. Yet, the more we make, the poorer we become. Nothing to show. Why? Because corruption hits the roots before the tree grows. See, before the tree go grow, corruption don't chop am. Almost all parasites in Nigeria, corruption is buried. Okay? Why you call it Mr. President? Calm down. You cannot tax a rotten system. This is my point. I've been saying it. You can't tax a rotten system. Even that reply when the chairman of this task whatever replied to me last time, I also replied him. I said, sir, talk to Mr. President. We want to fight corruption. Calm down. Mr. President, before you talk about personal income tax, new levies, first talk about discipline, justice, and accountability. You cannot tax citizens into hunger. You cannot tax citizens into hunger when leaders keep feeding fat on their sweat. Okay? You cannot talk about more revenue when half of the budget goes into waste, luxury, and theft. No justice, no trust. Trust is not built by speeches. Trust is built by punishment for wrongdoing. When Nigeria sees corrupt people walk free, Yaya Bello, for instance, as EFCC alleged, and the poor man is jailed for stealing food, for stealing fowl, they stop believing in the system. I know say they no send us. We will still dey talk. People will not pay tax when they know their leaders will steal it again. Okay? Amnesty for criminals, but not for the poor. Let's see. Recently, when I say, Mr. President, pardon some prisoners, men who were jailed long before his old tenure, that before this government. Those people, they inside sis. Even though I don't buy, you touch what you didn't start. No be put there for there. Abi? Say 90% of them. But he went to the fire, for one reason or the other, released them, freed them, gave them amnesty. That means you have the power to touch the past. Okay? You can touch the past. So if you can free those who were in prison before your time, before your tenure, then you can also arrest those who looted Nigeria before your time. Justice should not stop at the poor man's gate. Justice should climb the hill of power. Show Nigerians that no thief is too old, no office is too sacred, no past is too far to face justice. Use your power for good. Today, APC controls almost every seat in National Assembly. You saw this president is the most privileged president of all time. Even during Buhari here, Saraki was arguing with him, was killing some of the bills, gbas. But this one, anything where it bring come, Akpabio go say, okay, you have the power. That gives you great power and great responsibility. If you say anyone who steals public money will face death or life in prison, you raise that as a bill. Nobody in National Assembly will oppose it. So why use power to increase tax and not use it to increase punishment for corruption? Why not empower EFCC the more? Why would they avoid that side? Why would they avoid solidifying ICPC, EFCC, giving them more power via the constitution? Why would they go that side? Use your power to protect the poor, because if national resources is stolen, and the poor man will suffer, not to pressure them to pay new taxes. A nation bleeding. Taxing citizens in a corrupt system is like giving blood to a patient while the wound is still open. The blood will flow out again. Unless we don't want to punish people to say, okay, we are generating money, we are paying IMF, because ACME carry the matter for head. See what he talk for here. If don't even go research. I saw this video where I work place, so I don't see him. ACME even play. I'm gonna listen. Say this drum that they beat concerning this PIT or whatever. Now to please IMF. Listen.
My people, now black they do black. Watch this video now to the end to see why Tinubu want to implement income tax in this country.
The UN has been sending Western tax collectors to Africa to force the continent to pay their foreign debts, and this organization is called Tax Inspectors Without Borders. And if you think this isn't real, here is their website. They're implementing sales tax, minimum tax rates, taking African businesses to court for tax evasion, and they are bragging about the billions they collect from the continent. What the UN does is they send forensic tax auditors from the West to African nations to close loopholes, audit businesses, and implement tax laws that extract as much money as possible from the local population in order to pay back IMF and World Bank loans. And they are very good at what they do. Tunisia was one of the first countries to work with the UN tax collectors in 2015. And since then, the Tunisian government has increased tax revenue over 50% relative to GDP. Recently, you've probably seen different tax reform laws in West Africa, Kenya, among others, and all were pretty unpopular, but they were implemented with a carrot and stick methodology. If the African leaders don't work with the Western tax collectors, they face sanctions. But if they play nice with the tax collectors, they get more loans from the IMF. And you've probably figured out this game already. The West is getting the African nations to run up large debts, then training the African governments to collect the interest payments from the local population, and that money then goes to Western banks. And in many African countries, over 70% of the government revenue goes towards debt servicing. So it's essentially a much more efficient form of colonialism.
My people, government they borrow, now citizens go pay back. Tinubu is implementing income tax starting next year because International Monetary Fund, IMF, is forcing it on black countries. So basically, as you know, if you pay us our money back, force it on your citizens, make they contribute money, make you use pay us. The interest, not the whole money, the interest. So this tax money now is being collected just to pay interest on top of the principal where they never even touch. So Nigeria borrowed 10 billion. The interest on top of that 10 billion, now they won't use this money now where they won't collect next year, pay. The capital no more, yeah. And you're not talking government. I am pussy tax for the rest of our life. Dividing this country is the only direction. You don't borrow money, say, we are now in busy. Oil rich country, natural resource rich country. Now we are borrowers of money. Now we are taxpayers, not even borrowers. The fact that part, in my blood, the boy, what did you accomplish with oil money? Why collect from International Monetary Fund? Can't the so-called Nigerian leaders live within their means? Must a politician live like a big man? Must a politician be a big man? Can't you just work for public and disappear? Must a politician end up a big man? Tinubu no do this thing. Find a way to pay back what Nigeria has borrowed from white people. Tinubu no do this thing. I go hate you till the day I die. Don't do this thing. Monkey they walk, baboon they chop. Government they borrow, citizens they pay. Citizens we not taste anything. We not taste anything. How can I be paying something that I never tasted?
You don't hear us so. No healing, no progress. Leadership is example. If you truly love Nigeria, show it by example. You love Nigeria, Mr. President. You really love Nigeria, eh?
Mo rò pé gbogbo wa láti gbọ́ nǹkan tó ń fi ránṣẹ́ sí bàbá wa. Kọ́ ló ń jẹ́ kí lẹ́tà yìí àwọn nǹkan tá à ń ṣe kó déwájú wọn láyọ̀ àti àlàáfíà. Bọ́ gbogbo wa la mọ̀ pé bàbá wa alágídí ni wọ́n. Èyí tó wá jẹ́ pápá ń bá rí ẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ tí iná jọ ń ṣe fún. Ṣé mọ football wọ́n fi wá ṣe báyìí. Basketball, football.
Kindly subscribe to YouTube channel and follow on Facebook page at Dr. Zabby's Talk Show.